So what is up, guys? Suda the Savage back, and today we are here with NFL Week Russell Wilson and Will Lutz predictions. This is NFL Week 3. Now, if you're looking to watch a certain matchup, timestamps are in the description below, so click on that matchup that you want to see if you're just looking to see one. Anyways, last week I did a very good job. I went 11 for 16. That's pretty good. Puts me up for 20 for 32. Getting better, but there's always room for improvement. Anyways, we got 16 more matchups to get to, so without further ado, let's get this video started. So we are starting out with our Thursday Night Football matchup between the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. Starting out with the Carolina Panthers, last week you guys put on a show against New Orleans Saints, completely silenced them 26-7. I was very impressed with that. Sam Darnold threw for 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The 1 pick was pretty stupid on him. He just kind of blindly threw it. But lead rusher was Christian McCaffrey with 72 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was DJ Moore, 8 receptions, 79 yards and a touchdown, followed by Christian McCaffrey with 5 receptions for 65 yards. Dan Arnold, 3 receptions, 55 yards. Then Brandon Zylstra, 3 receptions, 44 yards and a touchdown. The defense did an excellent job holding the Saints to under 200 yards, under 50 rushing yards especially. And, completely made Jameis Winston go back to his form that he was in Tampa Bay, just throwing picks all the time. And then the Texans, I think it might be time to press the panic button, even though the panic button was pressed a whole long time ago. Tyrod Taylor threw for 125 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks in the 31-21 loss to Cleveland Browns, but he got injured, so in comes Davis Mills, threw 102 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, was just ineffective. Mark Ingram was your lead rusher with 41 yards, and then David Johnson followed it up with 25 yards. Not very good. Lead receiver was Brandon Cooks, 9 receptions, 78 yards and a touchdown. Literally, he's going to be the only source of offense that you have this year. That was pretty much it. No one else really did anything in the receiving game. The defense fell apart to the Cleveland Browns rush attack and Baker Mayfield, but I don't feel too bad about falling to that Browns rush game. It's the best in the league. Can't change my mind. Anyways, the Panthers are favored to win this one by 8.5. It's a pretty big spread. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now we're moving on to our Sunday matchup, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants. This matchup is probably going to suck. Anyway, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It didn't really go out your way. Starting off, Matt Ryan threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 picks. Not really a good day for him. Lead rusher was Mike Davis with 38 yards, but he didn't end up with a rushing touchdown because that went to Cordarrelle Patterson, 7 touches for 11 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was actually Kyle Pitts, 5 receptions for 73 yards, followed by Calvin Ridley, 7 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. Then Cordarrelle Patterson, 5 receptions, 58 yards and a touchdown. The defense was just completely exposed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I'll be honest, I wouldn't be upset about that. And Mike Edwards actually had 2 pick sixes off Matt Ryan. So currently Matt Ryan has more passing touchdowns to Mike Edwards than any other Falcons receiver. It's not a good stat. And then to the New York Giants. Last week, you guys came so close. Daniel Jones was not terrible. He had a pretty good game. Threw for 249 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He was also the lead rusher with 95 yards and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley only had 57 yards, so Saquon's been a bit of a disappointment this year. Hopefully he can rebound against Atlanta, because I really want to see him succeed. Sterling Shepard was your lead receiver, 9 receptions for 94 yards. Darius Slayton, 3 receptions, 54 yards and a touchdown. Should have had another, but he decided to imitate Evan Ingram. How kind. Kenny Golladay hasn't really done too much with the New York Giants. 3 receptions for 38 yards. He's not even the most useless receiver on the team because that's Kadarius Toney. 2 receptions for -2 yards. The defense was just absolutely complete. They were completely battered by the Washington football team and Taylor Heineke. So that defense has been looking a little bit sus. Definitely not a good look for them. Anyways, but the New York Giants are favored to win this one by 3. Yeah, I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now we're moving on to our very next matchup between the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. This should be fun, Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully that could be a good rivalry as the NFL goes on for maybe the next decade. Anyway, starting off with the LA Chargers, you came so close to a victory over Dallas, but came short, 20-17. Justin Herbert threw for 338 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. He was okay, but the 2 picks were not. They kind of hold him back. Anyways, Austin Eckler was your lead rusher with 54 yards. That was pretty much it. Lead receiver Keenan Allen, 4 receptions, 108 yards. Man's an absolute dog, but pretty close behind him. Mike Williams, 7 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. This is honestly a really underrated 1-2 punch. And then Eckler, even though he had a lackluster rush game, he had 9 receptions for 61 yards. So he did well on that part. The defense held Dallas for as long as they could, but in the end, they just fell short. And then the Chiefs, the streak of beating Lamar Jackson is gone. Patrick Mahomes had a pretty solid game, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Lead rusher was Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 46 yards, but he did have the costly fumble, which on the final drive of the Chiefs, so that cost him at the end. Lead receiver was Travis Kelce, 7 receptions, 109 yards and a touchdown, followed by Byron Pringle, 2 receptions, 63 yards and a touchdown, followed by McCole Hardman, 5 receptions, 55 yards, and then Demarcus Robinson, 4 receptions for 46 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill was pretty limited this game, so Ravens did a good job keeping him out of it. The defense did okay against Lamar Jackson at times, but it was just too inconsistent. Either they would shut him down or he would run all over them. But then, of course, the 4th and 1 at the end of the game, Lamar was just way ahead of you on that. And that's what ended it. Anyways, the Chiefs are favored to win this one by 6.5. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next match between the Arizona Cardinals and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Starting off the Cardinals, you guys should not have won last week. You guys won because Vikings gonna Vikings and miss a gimme field goal to win the game. You won it 34-33. Kyler Murray put on an excellent performance. 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. If he can limit the turnovers, he could be the unanimous MVP. Although he is currently the front runner for MVP. Lead rusher was Chase Edmonds with 46 yards, but then Kyler Murray was the only one who had a rushing touchdown as he had 31 yards. Lead receiver was Rashad Moore, 7 receptions, 114 yards and a touchdown, followed by Max Williams, 7 receptions, 94 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, he was below him with 4 receptions, 54 yards and a touchdown. And then AJ Green, 3 receptions, 44 yards and a touchdown. Got his first touchdown since, I don't even know when the last time he got a touchdown was. The defense was terrible. I'm not going to excuse that. Your defense was terrible. After completely silencing the Titans, your defense just failed to show up. And then the Jaguars, oh man, Trevor Lawrence looked awful. Threw for 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. How much of it is it his fault versus Urban Meyer? I think Urban Meyer was a terrible hire, so who knows? He could be gone soon. Lead rusher was James Robinson, 11 carries for 47 yards. He's not getting the ball enough. You need to feed James Robinson the ball. Anyways, lead receiver Marvin Jones Jr., 6 receptions, 55 yards and a touchdown. And you know what? That was pretty much it. No one else could do anything. That offense was completely stale. The defense, didn't do too well, but the Broncos, as long as the Broncos didn't suck, as long as the offense wasn't bad, they were easily going to shut down the Jaguars. So anyways, the Arizona Cardinals are favored to win this one by 7.5. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. Starting off with the Chicago Bears, well, if you guys pulled out the victory, not really convincing on offense, but that defense, man. Anyway, starting out, Andy Dalton threw for 56 yards and a touchdown, so he got injured. So Justin Fields came in. He threw for 6 yards and a pick. Fields looked pretty shaky in his debut, but guess what? He's going to be getting the start, so who knows how well he does in that. Anyways, lead rusher was David Montgomery with 61 yards. He was okay, but come on. The expectations were high, but he was just kind of average. Anyways, lead receiver was Darnell Mooney, 6 receptions for 66 yards, followed by Allen Robinson, 2 receptions, 24 yards and a touchdown. And yeah, that was pretty much it. The defense did an excellent job at keeping the Bengals quiet for a while. The defense almost collapsed at the end, but they still pulled out the victory. So yeah, good for you. Then anyways, moving on to the Cleveland Browns. You guys had a 31-21 victory over the Houston Texans. Good game played. Baker Mayfield threw for 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He did get injured, did have a shoulder injury, went out for a bit of the game, but then he just came right back and just completely silenced them, so good job to him. The rushing attack, you're not going to stop that. Nick Chubb, 95 yards and a touchdown, followed by Kareem Hunt with 51 yards, then Baker Mayfield, 10 yards and a touchdown, and then Andy Janovich with 1 touchdown. He had 0 rushing yards, but one of them was just like a 1-yard dive. Anyways, lead receiver was Demetric Felton with possibly the touchdown of the year. 2 receptions, 51 yards and the touchdown, followed by Harrison Bryant, 4 receptions, 49 yards. Austin Hooper, 5 receptions, 40 yards. Now, something that is going to be a concern is that Jarvis Landry is going to be out for a little bit. You don't have Jarvis Landry. You don't have OBJ. So it's really going to be on Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant. So hopefully they can make up for it. The defense did a good job shutting down the Texans, but it's the Texans. I mean, you stuffed Davis Mills for most of the game, so not really impressive. But anyways, you guys are favored to win this one by 7. I'm going to say that the Browns win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Washington football team and the Buffalo Bills. Starting out with the football team, you guys had a pretty solid performance against the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. Starting off with Taylor Heineke, maybe he could be the long-term starter. Threw for 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, although the pick was at a pretty bad time, and the IQ of the team to throw it on that play was kind of stupid. Anyways, lead rusher was Antonio Gibson with 69 yards, nice, and J.D. McKissic with 10 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Scary Terry. Early season Scary Terry is pretty damn scary. He had 11 receptions, 107 yards and a touchdown, followed by J.D. McKissic with 5 receptions for 83 yards. So any Antonio Gibson fantasy owners, fuck J.D. McKissic. I agree. I had Antonio Gibson on a team and I was super pissed off. Then followed that up with Logan Thomas, 5 receptions, 45 yards. And that was pretty much it. You guys missed the game-winning field goal at the end of the game, but of course the Giants went offside and then you kicked it again, got it, and it was good. Anyways, the defense had some trouble against the New York Giants. I mean, you didn't even force a Daniel Jones turnover, so that's going to be a little bit concerning. Anyways, then the Buffalo Bills. Going into Miami, I was hoping this could maybe be a rebound game. Josh Allen didn't quite rebound as much as I hoped he would. Threw for 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Devin Singletary was the lead rusher, 82 yards and a touchdown, followed by Josh Allen with 35. Then Zach Moss had 26 and 2 touchdowns, so very good performance on him. Lead receiver was Stephon Diggs, 4 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown, followed by Emmanuel Sanders, 2 receptions, 48 yards, and the only other one to have a touchdown was Dawson Knox, 2 receptions for 17 yards and a touchdown. That defense just completely silenced the Miami Dolphins, even though they had to switch to Jacoby Brissett mid-game. Didn't matter if it was Tua Tagovailoa or Jacoby Brissett, you would have shut them down either way, so, it was kind of a good rebound game for you guys. I mean, Josh Allen is the father of Miami Dolphins. Anyways, the Bills are favored to win this one by 7.5. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between my boys in the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. A couple years ago, this would have everyone would have loved it if it was Breeze and Brady. Well, Breeze is retired, Brady's on the Bucs, so it's just, Saints and Patriots. Starting off, Jameis Winston last week, absolutely terrible, threw 111 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks in a crushing 26-7 loss against the Carolina Panthers. He was also our lead rusher with 19 yards and a touchdown, followed by Taysom Hill with 16 yards. Tony Jones Jr. had 7 yards, and Alvin Kamara had 5 yards. This rushing game was absolutely ineffective against the Panthers, so that was very disappointing. Follow that up, the receiving game was nothing. Lil Jordan Humphrey was the lead receiver, 1 reception for 27 yards, followed by Kamara, 4 receptions for 25 yards. That was pretty much it. No one else is really worth mentioning because it was so damn bad. The defense got pretty battered by the Carolina Panthers, but we were missing a ton of guys on defense, a couple guys on offense, and a whole lot of coaches. So hopefully we can have them back for this week so we have a chance against the Patriots. Patriots against the New York Jets, come on. Patriots against Jets, Patriots are always going to dominate that one. Mac Jones, he was okay, threw for 186 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Didn't have to do much, so as long as he didn't shoot himself in the foot, he would be fine. Damian Harris was your lead rusher with 62 yards and a touchdown, followed by James White, 20 yards and a touchdown. So the rush game, still pretty strong. Lead receiver was also James White with 45 yards, then Hunter Henry with 42 yards. Jacoby Myers, 4 receptions, 38 yards. Everyone was hyping up Jacoby Myers. He's like, oh, he's going to be the big steal in fantasy. Hasn't really showed up that much yet. Then Jonnu Smith, 4 receptions for 28 yards. The defense forced 4 Zach Wilson interceptions. So that's a good accomplishment. Good on you guys. But yeah, anyways, the Patriots are favored to win this one by 3, but you know me. Always going to go the Saints, giving the Saints in this one. And now you have our very next matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Starting out with the Colts, last week against the Rams, he put up a good fight, but in the end, it wasn't enough. Carson Wentz threw for 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He did get injured near the end, so in came in Jacob Eason. He threw 25 yards and the game-sealing pick to Jalen Ramsey, so that wasn't too good. Lead rusher was Jonathan Taylor with 51 yards, followed by Carson Wentz with 37. The rush game has not been as effective as it was last year, so if you guys want a chance, you got to fix up that rush game. It needs to kind of get off on the right foot. Anyways, lead receiver, I know I said bad things about Michael Pittman Jr. last week. He had 8 receptions for 123 yards. He could be that wide receiver one, who knows. Jack Doyle followed it up with 5 receptions for 64 yards. Then Zach Pascal, 5 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown. The defense, had a little bit of trouble against the Rams, especially Cooper Kupp, but definitely was able to limit them as much as they could, but in the end, it wasn't enough to stop the Rams. They're a machine right now. And then the Tennessee Titans, man, you guys got lucky against the Seahawks last week. I mean, to be honest, the refs were trying to screw you over, but you still got that victory. Anyways, Ryan Tannehill threw for 347 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Everyone was kind of freaking out about Derrick Henry and his limited production. Well, guess what? He came back with 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. Lead receiver was Julio Jones with 6 receptions for 128 yards and no touchdowns. He should have had one. Derrick Henry was also a little bit in the receiving game as he had 55 yards. Good on him. Then Pruitt had 3 receptions for 43 yards. Then A.J. Brown, last guy will talk about, 3 receptions for 43 yards. The defense was absolutely terrible against the Seattle Seahawks in the first half. But then later on in the game, they just completely shut down because the Seahawks, they love to give their fans heart attacks. But yeah, no, the defense wasn't exactly amazing. Anyways, the Titans are favored to win this one by 5. But you know what? Give me the Colts in this one. I think their defense is going to kind of silence the Titans, and the offense is just going to hum along. So give me the Colts. And now you have our very next matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting out with the Bengals. Last week was not exactly your best game against the Chicago Bears. Starting off with Joe Burrow threw for 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was picked off on 3 straight passes. So that's already alarm bells should be ringing after that one. Anyways, Joe Mixon, he was your only rusher with 69 yards. Nice. Yeah, he didn't have a touchdown. Lead receiver was Tyler Boyd, 7 receptions, 73 yards, followed by T. Higgins with 60 yards and a touchdown, and then Jamar Chase, 2 receptions, 54 yards and a touchdown. The defense, you know, they limited the Bears as much as possible, but this was with Andy Dalton who got injured and then a raw Justin Fields. So, you know, I don't think many defenses would struggle against that. So it was a close game, but you fell up short. And then the Steelers, is it panic time? Because, you know, you lost the Raiders 26-17. Ben Roethlisberger, everyone's saying he can't lead this team anymore. He had 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Lead rusher was Najee Harris with 38 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster had 3 yards and a touchdown. It was just kind of like an HB toss to him. Anyways, lead receiver was Deontay Johnson, 9 receptions for 105 yards. But he is injured, so that's definitely going to hurt your chances against the Bengals. Followed by Chase Claypool, 3 receptions for 70 yards, and then Najee Harris, 5 receptions, 43 yards, and the only receiving touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The defense could not stop the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, they kept them quiet for a while, but the Derek Carr bomb to Henry Ruggs was kind of the nail in the coffin. Anyways, the Steelers are favored to win this one by 3, and yeah, give me the Steelers. I just don't trust Joe Burrow against this defense, so give me the Steelers. And now you have our very next matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions. Starting out with the Ravens, what a game against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. It was a close game. You guys made an epic comeback and pulled out the 36-35 victory. Lamar Jackson finally beat Patrick Mahomes, threw for 239 yards, 1 touchdown, but he did have 2 picks. Both were to the Honey Badgers, so that's not too good. But Lamar Jackson was your lead rusher with 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them was the game-winning touchdown, followed by Tyson Williams with 77 yards, and Latavius Murray, 36 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Hollywood Brown. He's actually been shocking me this season. I've actually been super happy with how he's done. Had 113 yards and a touchdown, followed by Mark Andrews, 5 receptions for 57 yards, then Sammy Watkins, 4 receptions, 44 yards. The defense really struggled against the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's the Chiefs. You did force a Mahomes pick and the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble, and of course the 4th and 1. John Harbaugh, Lamar, you want to go for it? Yeah, I would have gone for it, because either way, if the Chiefs got the ball back, they would have won the game. So I would have gone for it no matter what. So good win for you guys. And then the Detroit Lions. Yeah, I wasn't shocked that you lost to the Packers. I knew Aaron Rodgers would do his magic on you. Jared Goff threw for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He was okay at the beginning, but the second half he was nothing. He was also your lead rusher with 46 yards, then DeAndre Swift with 37. Lead receiver was TJ Hawkinson, 8 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown, followed by Quintez Cephas, 4 receptions, 63 yards and a touchdown, and then DeAndre Swift, 4 receptions, 41 yards and a touchdown. The defense did okay against the Packers in the first half, but then Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones just released absolute hell on you, and also Devontae Adams. But, you know, I didn't really expect you guys to win against the Packers. I mean, I did think you would cover the spread, but no. They blew you out of the waters. Not really shocked that you lost. Anyways, the Ravens are favored to win this one by 8. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very first 4 o'clock matchup between the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. Starting out with the New York Jets, yeah, Zach Wilson, that was your welcome to the NFL experience. A 25-6 loss to the New England Patriots. Wilson threw for 210 yards, no touchdowns, and not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 picks. 4 picks. Anyways, Michael Carter was your lead rusher with 59 yards. And Johnson had 50 yards, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Lead receiving was Braxton Berrios with 7 receptions for 73 yards, followed by Elijah Moore, 4 receptions for 47 yards. And, that was pretty much it. The offense was nothing against the Patriots. I mean, they have a pretty solid defense. They completely shut you down, but I'm not expecting you guys to do anything against that Broncos D. That Broncos D is so much better. Now onto the Broncos against the Jaguars, as long as the offense wasn't terrible, you would do well. But Bridgewater had a good game. 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Javonte Williams with 64 yards, and after the Week 1 hype on Melvin Gordon, he only had 31 yards on the ground. So a bit of a disappointment there. Lead receiver was Courtland Sutton, 9 receptions, 159 yards. This man's back. I knew once he's healthy, he's going to be a pretty solid asset to that offense because, he missed all of last year, so it's good to get him back. Then Melvin Gordon, he had 38 yards, followed by Tim Patrick, 37 yards and a touchdown. Then Noah Fant, 33 yards and a touchdown. And that was pretty much it. The defense silenced the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it's an Urban Meyer Jaguars. Urban Meyer should not have a place in the NFL. Anyways, the Broncos are favored to win this one by 10. I'm going to say that they win, cover the spread, and have a 17-point victory. I'm calling 3 Zach Wilson picks as he gets benched for... I don't even know who their backup is, but you know what? Yeah, give me the Broncos. And now you have our very next matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. This was one of the best games from last season, and I'm sure it's gonna disappoint this year because there's gonna be no Tua Tagovailoa or Ryan Fitzpatrick because it's gonna be Jacoby Brissett. I love Jacoby Brissett a lot. Met the guy, awesome dude, but it's gonna suck. Anyways, Raiders, you're 2-0. It's kind of impressive, although I'm a little annoyed with everyone who says you're a playoff contender. Hold off on that. I'm waiting for some more consistency from this team. But Derek Carr, he's done an excellent job so far this season. Threw for 382 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Peyton Barber with 32 yards. So that's definitely a concern because the O-line's not that good. You had no Josh Jacobs. Kenyon Drake didn't even perform that well, so kind of disappointing. Anyways, lead receiver was Henry Ruggs with 5 receptions, 113 yards and a touchdown, followed by Darren Waller, 5 receptions for 65 yards, and then Hunter Renfrow, 5 receptions, 57 yards, and then Kenyon Drake, 5 receptions, 46 yards. So, honestly, even though Darren Waller was definitely limited, Derek Carr was finding other guys to throw to, so that's definitely going to be huge because Darren Waller is going to be the big target on that team. The defense was able to shut down the Steelers, but it's the Steelers. Their offense really sucks. And then the Dolphins just got completely bitch-slapped by the Buffalo Bills. Tua Tagovailoa only threw 4 passes for 1 completion, 13 yards. Then he got injured. Jacoby Brissett threw for 169 yards. Nice. No touchdowns and a pick. Lead rush was Myles Gaskin, followed by Mark Brown. It was 25 yards and 21 yards. So honestly, yeah, that rush game is going to be a running back by committee. So Gaskin's definitely going to see his production go down. And that's going to be a huge loss for him and his fantasy owners. Then Jalen Waddle was your lead receiver, 6 receptions for 48 yards, followed by Devontae Parker, 5 receptions for 42 yards. Then Mike Gesicki, 3 receptions for 41 yards. The defense, yeah, you got bitch slapped by the Buffalo Bills, but they're a pretty strong offense, so I really wouldn't expect you guys to put up that much of a fight anyways. The Raiders are favored to win this one by 4. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. Brissett's going to keep this one close, but they're going to fall short. And now you have our very next matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams. Starting out with the Buccaneers, yeah, you guys just had a field day over the Atlanta Falcons. Tom Brady had an excellent game, threw for 276 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Leonard Fournette with 52 yards, and that was pretty much it. Lead receiver, you guys, well, you're not going to have Antonio Brown this week, but lead receiver was Mike Evans, 5 receptions for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, so of course getting that red zone production with the 2 TDs. Followed by Chris Godwin, 4 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. Gronk, he had 39 yards and 2 touchdowns, doesn't even watch film, he just says, fuck it, I'll run, and then he lied. I don't know, does he watch film or does he not? Because he had 2 interviews and they were kind of contradicting. Anyways, getting a little bit off topic. The defense had a little bit of trouble against the Atlanta Falcons in the second and the third quarter, but other than that, you just completely shut them down, especially with the 2 pick sixes you got. That is really what solidified that victory. And then the LA Rams over the Colts, I expected to win, but it was a lot closer than it should have been. You got off to a strong start. Matt Stafford, he threw for 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he did throw a pick. Darrell Henderson ran for 53 yards and a touchdown, followed by Sony Michel with 46 yards. Henderson's questionable for the next game, so we'll see how that plays out. Lead receiver was Cooper Kupp, 9 receptions, 163 yards and 2 touchdowns, followed by Robert Woods with 5 receptions for 64 yards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So Stafford was pretty much only had Cooper Kupp. Not quite the Megatron that he had, but no one's going to live up to Megatron. The defense definitely was interesting against the Colts. They shut them down for a while. They kept it close at the end, and then, of course, the Jalen Ramsey was with the game-sealing pick. Come on, it's Jalen Ramsey. He's going to get that every time. The Buccaneers are favored to win this one by 1.5, but you know what? The Rams are going to solidify themselves as a huge threat to beat the Bucs. I mean, they already are seen as a threat, but this will completely solidify it, so give me the Rams. And now you have our final 4 o'clock matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. Last few years that these guys have played, they've always had some pretty exciting matchups, especially last year. Anyway, starting out with the Seahawks, oh my god, that was a frustrating game. You guys had a super strong first half, then you completely faltered in the second half. You guys were literally handed the game on a plate by the refs, but you screwed that one up. Russell Wilson threw for 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He had a pretty good game. Chris Carson ran for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett has been crushing it this season. 8 receptions, 178 yards and a touchdown, followed by Fred Swain with 95 yards and a touchdown. Then DK Metcalf, he's been kind of slow to start the season, but it's a pretty loaded wide receiver core, so he only had 53 yards. Anyways, the defense was pretty good against the Titans in the first half, but then Derrick Henry ran over all those ambitions, and as the Titans pulled up to a victory in overtime. So disappointing because you guys blew it. And then the Minnesota Vikings, you guys should have had the win last week, but of course, classic Vikings missing a field goal in the clutch. And it was a chip shot. It was a chip shot field goal, so that's classic Vikings. Anyways, Kirk Cousins threw for 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Dalvin Cook with 133 yards, a pretty good performance by him. Followed that up, KJ Osborne led with 91 yards and a touchdown, followed by Justin Jefferson with 65 yards and a touchdown. And then finally, Adam Thielen, 6 receptions, 39 yards and a touchdown. The offense was able to keep up with the Arizona Cardinals. You guys did have a pick 6. You forced 2 Kyler Murray picks, but in the end, yeah, that offense was just able to thrive upon you, and missing a field goal in the clutch, like I said, classic Vikings. So both these teams really need to get a win, otherwise they're pretty much screwed. Anyways, the Seahawks are favored to win this one by 1.5. I'm going to say that they win and cover this. And now you have our Sunday Night Football matchup from the 2 teams in the 2019 NFC Championship game between the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Starting out with the Green Bay Packers, did you prove the doubters wrong? You beat the Lions. I didn't expect much. I mean, I thought you guys would win. Rodgers did have a good day, though, threw for 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, but it was really all Aaron Jones. 67 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams, he was your lead receiver with 8 receptions for 121 yards. Followed by Robert Tonyan with 3 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. Then Aaron Jones, 6 receptions, 48 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns the whole game. If you played against him in fantasy, I did. I had a huge lead going into the final day, but he screwed me over. I hate Aaron Jones so much. The defense struggled against the Detroit Lions in the first half, especially Kevin King. Got burned by Quintez Cephas a couple of times. But you did well in the second half. But once again, it's the Lions. Then on to the 49ers. You guys have kept a couple of games against relatively easy opponents close. Had a 17-11 victory over the Eagles. Garoppolo threw for 189 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Elijah Mitchell, the Week 1 hype, he did not live up to his Week 1 hype, had 42 yards, followed by Hasty with 38 yards. Then Garoppolo had 20 rushing yards and the only rushing touchdown of the game. Lead receiver was Deebo Samuel with 6 receptions for 93 yards. He's completely Brandon Ayuk's stock has completely plummeted because he's done nothing this year. Hasty had 21 yards, and then Jennings had 17 yards and a touchdown. Kittle only had 17 yards. He's been a little bit disappointing this year. I guess they've really used him as the blocking tight end, which is kind of how they like to use him. That's what he's best at. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. The defense was able to stop the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's the Eagles. Not exactly the best team to be stuffing. The 49ers, they are favored to win this one by 3.5, but give me the Packers. This is Aaron Rodgers. If Raheem Mostert was in the game, then maybe the Niners would have a fighting chance, but give me the Packers. And now you have our Monday Night Football matchup, a classic rivalry between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. I love watching these two play. The fan bases are both absolutely insufferable, and you're either going to get really good late clutch football or really shit football. Hopefully it's good football. Anyway, starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles, fell to the 49ers 17-11. Jalen Hurts didn't have quite as good of a game as he did against the Falcons. Against the Niners, he only threw for 190 yards. He was also your lead rusher with 82 yards and a touchdown. Kind of completely killed off Miles Sanders. He only had 55 yards. Lead receiver was Quez Watkins, 2 receptions for 117 yards. One of them was a 91-yard bomb, and yeah, that pretty much made up for like most of the receiving game. Dallas Goedert had 2 receptions, 24 yards. Gainwell with 18 yards, and Devontae Smith with 16 yards. No one else really contributed all that much. To be honest, the pass game was absolutely ineffective. The offense in general was just ineffective. Anyways, the defense was able to stop the 49ers, but they're missing Raheem Mostert. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't exactly the best QB to be stopping. So, you limited them to 17 points, but that offense just couldn't do anything. And then the Dallas Cowboys, close victory over the LA Chargers last week. Dak Prescott threw for 237 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Was Zeke the lead rusher? Did he come back? Somewhat, but the lead rusher was Tony Pollard with 109 yards and a touchdown, followed by Elliott. He had 71 yards and a touchdown. So the narrative kind of is that Tony Pollard's kind of taken over and Zeke is starting to regress. So people are saying they're regretting that payment to Ezekiel Elliott. Who knows? Maybe he could rebound. I hope he doesn't because he's a Cowboy and I hate the Cowboys. Anyways, then CeeDee Lamb was your lead receiver, 8 receptions for 81 yards, followed by Blake Jarwin, 3 receptions, 37 yards. Tony Pollard had 31 yards. Yeah, that was pretty much it. No one else cracked over 30 yards in the game. The defense was able to silence the Chargers. I mean, they did get lucky with some flags that were thrown in their favor. And then Greg the Leg, after a horrible week 1, rebounded himself with a clutch 58-yard game-winning field goal. So overall, good victory for the Dallas Cowboys. It was close, but you know what? Win's a win. Cowboys are favored to win this one by 3.5. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And that is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to see both my first 2 weeks of recaps and my Saints recaps, oh shit. And that is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to see my first 2 weeks of predictions and my Saints and recaps, links to that will be in the description below. Make sure you drop a like to this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Comment down below who you got is like who you're picking this week, who's your upset of the week, who's your favorite of the week, or like lock of the week. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok at Brendan Suter. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Who Dat Nation is